Right, it's time for business, and Emmanuel Abajuyafe has joined me. Good evening to you, Emmanuel.
Good evening, Easy.
Right, so the president has been talking about, has been having a meeting.
Yes, with captains of industry.
Captains of industry. It's a GIPC forum,
exactly,
the breakfast meeting. And I heard him talk about the fact that, well, first of all, he justified the private sector participation in the electricity company of Ghana. And he also talked about some things that are going to happen as far as our power sector is concerned.
Well, it's interesting, but the president is kind of assuring, captains of industry that their woes when it comes to power supply is going to be a thing of the past, to the extent that Ghana is even targeting another buyer of our power, or will be targeting another buyer, that's Nigeria, for more power in the coming years.
We have more than enough.
Yes, and
we're going to be having more than enough.
We're going to be having more than enough. Perhaps he's counting his hopes on, the upcoming Sankofa project, which will generate about 1,000 megawatts of power, as well as 10 projects and other upcoming fields also generating gas.
But it's indeed true that we have a number of generating plants coming on, thermal plants coming on stream, which would provide a lot more electricity, and so probably that's what he's looking at. Anyway, you take it away.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for joining me on Business. President Mahama says government is targeting Nigeria to take up excess power that the country will be producing in the coming years. The recent power crisis resulted in lots of power producers coming in to help address the problem. However, according to President Mahama, there are fears the country will soon be producing more power than it actually needs in the next 3 years. Addressing business owners at the Ghana Investment Promotion Center breakfast meeting with CEOs, the president said this arrangement will ensure investors in the power sector get value for money.
We have unacceptable losses that we need to deal with. If we're able to deal with those losses, I'm sure that we will be cost recovering, because there are illegal connections, there are line losses, there are all kinds of things that make our losses unacceptably high, estimated at 25%, or more. And so those are things we are trying to deal with, and that is why we signed the agreement with the Millennium Challenge Compact to improve the distribution of power and make sure that we're collecting revenues more efficiently. And that is why we agreed that the private sector should come in and assist, because try as we can with the ECG, it is not being able to collect the power, the revenue for the power that is generated. And so it has worked in many countries. In our neighbor Cote d'Ivoire, the companies that are coming to your door and taking the revenue, and it's not a state-owned enterprise, it's private sector. And it's proven that the private sector is better at doing that, so that then the distributor can concentrate on the technical issues that they need to deal with to ensure that power is regular and consistent.
And in a related development, the president is also promising a significant reduction in the public debt and other economic variables by December. He also spoke about how to deal with rising interest rates.
The most serious threat to business and the private sector is an unstable economy. And an unstable economy exists when you have the deficit rising unsustainably. It means government is spending far more than it is earning, and it has to finance that deficit in some manner. And so because the deficit was going up, of course inflation too starts going up. Interest rates ballooned, and the cedi started depreciating. I mean, no business can survive in an environment like that. But I know that what affects you most is interest rates, the high cost of borrowing. And that is why we have introduced a public debt management strategy that tries to control government borrowing. We're trying to create a situation where we don't crowd out the private sector. And happily, if you look at the statistics, crowding is reducing because government is reducing continuously its domestic borrowing. Indeed, we're doing some substitution. And so if you notice, some of the Eurobonds that we floated have been to take out the more high interest domestic debt. And so sometimes when we go on the Eurobond market, it is not to finance the budget, but to reduce the incidence of the domestic debt as a burden on the budget. And so that is going well. As part of the IMF program, we presented a public debt management strategy which we are following quite consistently. And it is seeing a reduction in the incidence of public debt. We've come from a high of about 73% to currently about 67%. And my indication is that this will continue to go down.
In other business news, about 200 businesses have so far successfully registered using the Registrar General's Department's online process. This is after the Registrar General's Department launched its online registration portal over a year ago in May 2015. But what have been the experiences of some business operators so far, and what response by the Registrar General answers in this report?
The Registrar General's Department online registration portal was introduced as part of initiatives to enhance the business registration process in the country. So, to what extent has this goal been achieved? Some business operators that have tried the service have been speaking to Joy Business.
I was hoping, honestly, when I went to the website first, that I could be able to register there, but it doesn't work that way. You just print your forms in and still have to come here in the first place. So I was searching for the different forms and stuff to fill, and then it just ended. It didn't move any, go to the next window or something. No, it just ended at one. I don't remember where exactly on the website ended, but it just ended there. So I had to print the forms out, fill them manually, and then come here to continue.
I only printed out the registration form and I had to fill it and come here, Meanwhile, online, I believe name search should even be the first thing. It should be very easy for you to log in with a name to check if the name is really registered or not before you can even move here. And it's not working.
The Acting Registrar General, Jemima Owari, however, explains to Joy Business they are working to enhance the process.
They are not too used to the system, and so they get into it. We query a lot. They are not used to the system. So when they put in an application and it comes in, we would actually query quite a bit to get it to conform to what we want. They are now learning. But those who've been registering online and have gotten a hang of things, within 2-3 days, they get their documents approved. That whole process, getting the different levels of approval, it could take you maybe 2 days or 3 days.
That is when you come.
When you come here, yes. So online, we are hoping that with online, we should even reduce the time. So we've asked the software developers to give us a flag, or so that when we are approving applications, we'll approve online applications, earlier than the manual ones, as a form of incentive to get people, to stay at home, to register businesses online.
The Registrar General's Department portal is also integrated with the Ghana Revenue Authority systems to identify users by their tax identification numbers.
The Chamber of Mines has set Tuesday, November 15, to engage local business operators and the Association of Ghana Industries to discuss ways of meeting standards in the revised local content procurement list for the mining sector. The meeting will afford participants the opportunity to understand the revised local content procurement by the Chamber of Mines.
The Chamber of Mines revised its local content procurement list as part of initiatives to promote more indigenous companies to participate in the mining sector. According to the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Suleiman Kone, the engagement has become necessary due to the importance it attached to promotion of local content in the country.
One of the inputs or one of the items on the procurement list of the Minerals Commission is electric cables, heavy-duty electric cables. And we believe that although I have seen some improvement between the 2014 and 2015 performance of the mining industry, we can do a lot more. So to interrogate that further, we need to workshop it, have a workshop and start discussing, not just amongst ourselves, but even with the Ghana Standards Authority, because there's an issue of standards as well. Ghana Standards Authority, on the basis of the discussion, we could even develop standards for some of these electric cables. And then again, get in the Ministry of Trade, because trade policy is also important. And then Minerals Commission, the regulator, and so on. And we also bring in the electrical engineers from the mines. We also bring in the cable manufacturers themselves, and then the AGI, all coming to help us to unravel the issues so that we walk away knowing that we have a blueprint regarding solutions to encourage more local manufacturing and more local procurement of electric cables in the mining industry.
At the recently held Association of Ghana Industries Local Content and Investment Conference, Chief Executive Officer of the AGI, Seth Chum Akwabwa, emphasized the importance of such stakeholder engagement.
Making sure that the local companies are given the necessary capacity, because they need to upskill their operations, they need to have, higher levels of human resource to be able to do the things that we require them to do in the local industry. And I think all these are happening. So there have been a lot of positive development. Indeed, today we have a number of Ghanaian companies that have ventured into certain areas which hitherto were not being done at all, and they are making good business. So we haven't reached there yet. That's the reason why we still continue to have these kind of seminars. After a while, if we think that Ghanaians have reached a level where they are virtually doing everything in the oil and gas industry, there will not be the need for a seminar of this nature. But for now, we don't.
Outcome of discussions are expected to help shape ideas into developing subsequent local content policies in the mining sector.
And that's all in business. Many thanks for watching. For more business news updates, log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Emmanuel Apuaji Riafi. Good evening.